On day zero of African Energy Week, we hosted a masterclass focused on the Dangote refinery, probably one of the most significant downstream projects of the last 20 or 30 years. So as you can imagine, it attracted a lot of attention. So we talked about three things. We talked about, firstly, why the project is so significant. Secondly, the impact that it's going to have on Nigeria and the rest of the region. And then thirdly, we asked the question, is this project a one-off or is it a blueprint for further investment in refining in Africa? So first of all, why is this project so significant? Why does it matter? Well, it's a huge refinery, one of the biggest ever built, more than 600,000 barrels a day, so in the top 10 biggest refineries ever built. That alone makes it significant. The second factor is it's a fuels making machine. It's producing over 500,000 barrels a day of gasoline, of diesel, of jet fuel. Those are huge volumes, market moving volumes that are going to drive profitability in the refining sector. It's also possibly one of the last fuels focused refineries ever to be built. We're seeing a gradual shift towards converting more of the barrel into chemicals and petrochemical feedstocks. So this refinery is really kind of a one of a kind for recent projects. And then finally, it's significant because it bucks a trend for African refining. Over the past 30 years, we've seen demand more than double, but in that period, refining capacity has actually contracted. And so what that's meant is that Africa has shifted from the position of a net exporter of refined products into importing a lot of product, and 51 of 55 countries in Africa are net importers of refined products. So in terms of the implications, first of all, for Nigeria, it significantly reduces its import needs. Nigeria has been a massive importer of refined products, particularly gasoline. And as this refinery ramps up, what we're going to see is that import requirement for gasoline is significantly reduced, not eliminated, but significantly reduced. And then in terms of the other products, gas oil, diesel, jet fuel, Nigeria is going to become a net exporter with the potential to supply a lot of the region. Secondly, we see it shifting trade flows in the Atlantic basin. We have seen a huge flow of gasoline from Western Europe into West Africa. That's going to be backed out, and the problem for European refiners is going to be that there's really nowhere else that can go. And as a result, we're expecting this refinery to trigger a restructuring of the industry and ultimately the closure of European refineries. So then finally, is it a one-off? Well, lots of things fell into place to make Dangote work. It's sitting on top of a huge market. It's sitting in Africa's biggest crude producing country. It had access to financing. So we looked at whether those conditions could be met elsewhere. And firstly, what we saw was that in terms of the demand, there's just not a lot of countries that have enough refined product demand to justify a refinery of this scale. And even when you start grouping countries together, it's very difficult to get to that 600,000 barrel a day scale. So what does this mean? It means that it's likely that Africa's refining future is about smaller refineries, maybe revamping existing refineries, but it's unlikely that we're going to see another refinery built of this scale on the continent. In the medium term, there's really not a lot of refining capacity in the pipeline, so our expectation is that imports are going to continue to grow in spite of this significant investment.